All right,
Sorry.
now we can go.
All right, live from Baton Rouge, it's College Game Day. Um, Hi, Tuscan Soda here, joining me along with um, Imposter Coster and Trey Chaffin at the moment. And yeah, shit, sorry. Let's see. Okay, I have the game day thread back up. So,
Yep.
all right, and we're here today from Baton Rouge. Actually, it's just our dorms and whatnot. And we're going to start it off. We've got a big matchup between LSU and Auburn later tonight. Auburn, led by Heisman hopeful Jazz Durant, going up against a very sturdy and robust LSU defense. We're going to see how this plays out. But first, we're going to head over for the Thursday games.
All right. So, let me pull up this real quick. All right, started off with Temple at Cincinnati, and, well, really nothing stood out for the Owls here. They just played their kind of game, forced a fumble from Kieran O'Connell in the first quarter. J.J. Robinson threw for a touchdown, 299 yards, and Ricky Lewis rushed for 143 on 24 carries for 2 scores. Just simple Temple football, if you ask me.
Yeah. Looking at this game, Cincinnati hasn't really been doing well this season, and I think they're still continuing a very poor losing streak from last season even, but they are trying. Like, Jacob Dunham did throw a 19-yard pass to Amir Nassib, but in the end, 7 points wasn't going to go up against the 30.
Really, Cincinnati is just a program struggling. They have the talent to win, but they're just not putting it together.
Right.
Yeah, and they, I think one of their main weak points, in my opinion, is their offensive line. They're just not giving Dunham any time to sit in the pocket, and they're not making lanes for O'Connell to get down. That's one of their areas they need to improve on.
Definitely. In this game specifically, third down seemed to be a major problem, converting only 2 out of their 16 attempts.
Yes, indeed.
With an offensive line rating of 2.6, you've got to fix that.
And hopefully Cincinnati will eventually with this upcoming recruiting class and in the future. Indeed. And let's see. Let's take a look at the Wake Forest Southern Miss game. That was definitely interesting.
This doesn't surprise me, really. Wake Forest is better than the record shows. Milner caught fire with 380 yards and 2 scores last night.
And
Southern
a rushing
Miss
touchdown.
really had no answer for him.
Yeah, he even added on a rushing touchdown late in the fourth quarter just to make his game even better.
But half of that couldn't have been possible without his receiver, A.J. Byrne, who accounted for 175 yards of his production.
And with this, the defense for Wake Forest also helped out. Logan Carter with a pick six, right at the beginning of the third quarter, right actually not the beginning, close towards the end, 4 minutes left, just packing a punch with Southern Miss, making the score 24-7.
That defense was all over the receivers. They forced Keller into 3 interceptions.
And a less than 50% completion rating.
Less than 100 yards. Southern Miss couldn't find any open receivers, and Wake finally got the win they needed.
Yeah, 85 yards. You can't really do much with that.
85 passing yards, 58 rushing yards. I mean, that's just shut down D by Wake Forest, if we're being completely honest.
Right. No, it was. Definitely. It was not at all a fair matchup, I think. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Wake Forest can try to build on this win now and try to maybe string together a couple more.
Definitely. I'm sure the Conference USA still has a long ways to go if they want to catch other conferences.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Conference USA having a long way to go, let's take a look at a game played in a neutral location, the Cotton Bowl. Charlotte versus number 19 ranked UCLA. Wasn't a fair matchup either.
Not really. This was trouble from the start. UCLA scores in the first 5 minutes, pick off Charlotte later in the quarter. UCLA jumped out to a hot start and never looked back.
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised UCLA didn't pour it on even harder. I mean, I was thinking this game could be one of those where 50, 60 points are scored. But I mean, Stephen Gore played lights out. He did have the one interception, but overall he played great. Only 4 incompletions, 424 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he just had a great game.
Definitely. You can look at all of the statistics like Stephen Gore did what he was supposed to. He was very efficient in the passing game, minus that one interception. Running back Josh Ianco kept it up on the ground with about 169 yards. And then Paul Robinson, he was just there for Stephen Gore with the catches.
Almost 200 yards receiving.
Exactly.
You got to take a look at that defense, too. Of course, Anthony Campbell had the interception. Both Richard Welch and Ronald Harris recorded 2 sacks apiece. This was just nothing Charlotte could do in this case.
I mean, it was really like every play within a second and a half, Micah Browning was on the run trying to stay away from those 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the inept offense, Browning was also held to under 50% completion and only 75 yards. William Serrano only picked up 69 yards on 20 carries.
Well, they really didn't have much to work with. They had an offensive line rating of 1.5, and if you look on the defensive side for UCLA, you can tell that Micah was probably on the ground for at least half of the game.
Another note, UCLA only failed to convert 3 times on 3rd down.
That's not good.
Yeah, they were pretty much doing whatever they wanted to do out there.
Just complete domination from the Bruins to reach bowl eligibility.
Definitely. All right. And now, should we head on over to the next matchup at Louisiana Tech?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Let's do that. And this matchup overall it got a bit interesting at the half, but Marshall pulled away with the win against Louisiana Tech.
Both quarterbacks had pretty good games. Well, not factoring in Shea's 2 interceptions there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially one with 2:50 to go in the 4th quarter. That sealed the game, basically. But to me, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a respectable game.
Yeah. I mean, both quarterbacks did get decent yardage, at least above 250. If you look at the efficiency, Lucas Shea barely made it at a 50% completage just to get the yardage, whereas Demetrius Morris got about 20 of 36, so very different schemes, as we can tell from here. Mm-hmm.
And J.C. Weldon reeled in a modest 94 yards and 7 receptions, with both of Morris's touchdown receptions.
And Daniel Nance kind of complemented the passing game of Marshall nicely with over 6 yards per carry for 2 touchdowns. Although, if you take out that 65-yard run, he was down at 2.6 yards per carry. But still, it counts, so it was a good rushing day for him.
It's there. Got to count it.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Daniel Nance with the 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, on only 16 attempts. And then, yeah.
This is typical Marshall football.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't expect anything less from him.
Agreed. Meanwhile, with Conference USA, in Birmingham, Alabama again, Rice and UAB, both with 2 wins per team. Rice hasn't really seen the field that much yet, with only 5 games played, whereas UAB is trying to hang in there for to get to that bowl game at 2-5.
Oh.
Yeah, I think especially after this game, it's going to be a tough uphill battle for UAB to get to that bowl game. I just don't see it happening.
This Rice defense made life hard for Simmons late in the game, with UAB trying to claw back in. From the third quarter, William Willis picked off Simmons and returned it for a touchdown to make it 21-7 Rice. At the end of the quarter, Corin Donahue, who is arguably one of the better safeties in the country, also picked off Simmons. And then with 5:21 to go, with Rice ahead 28-7, Don Taylor finished the deal with his own.
Yep.
Yeah. So all three of Simmons' interceptions came after 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. You know, that's the time when you're down by 2 touchdowns. You know, you need your quarterback to step up and start making plays, and Simmons just kind of did the opposite. He fell apart when it came down to crunch time.
That speaks towards
Yeah.
Rice's defense.
Yeah. They did very well to hold the offensive line that UAB had. Really
They
true.
they couldn't keep the pressure off of Simmons and forced him into quite a few bad throws.
Yeah. And it really changed the pace of the game for the Owls with those 3 interceptions that had a lot of great opportunities, and they definitely took advantage of them. Yep. And now let's
Rice
check
is
out.
halfway there.
Yeah, they're getting there. Let's check out Ohio and Ball State. And this matchup looks like everything happened after the half.
Aside from a Couture
2-yard
2-yard
touchdown
run, there was no action in that first half.
Yep.
Not even. I mean, never mind.
Well, I mean, it looks like nothing really happened after that, at least during the third quarter, just a few field goals, so you could definitely see that both teams were trying to get to the other team's end zone for sure. And if we look at it, both QBs, Stephen Peters and Bobby McKellen, didn't really do that well in the passing game.
Well, not at all. McClellan threw for 2 picks. Stephen Peters didn't really get the yardage necessary, but they didn't play great games. But they're mainly rushing offenses, and both backs seem to have pretty good production.
So I just noticed a game day sign. Yeah, both rush. Yeah, both teams. I can agree. Definitely focused on the rush, but I think it looks like one of the main concern. This is more of just a special teams battle, I think, in this matchup.
Ohio really did a good job of hanging on to that lead in the fourth quarter. Got a couple of picks on McClellan late. They kept Horton in check for the most part. Horton only managed roughly 4 yards to carry. But Ohio's defense has been pretty good this year. And, well, Ball State had a respectable performance.
Yeah.
They won't be bowling this year.
Yep. That is. And it's, actually, this might be our first team to not make it to a bowl on this Thursday. So. So, Wyoming and Fresno?
Wyoming and Fresno.
All right, cool. And with this matchup, really started out looking decent for Wyoming in that first quarter. What do y'all think?
Yeah, Wyoming really took it to them in the first quarter. A couple of scores here. Cunningham on the ground, and then easily to Tanner, 15-yard connection. They had a 2-score lead on Fresno.
I mean,
Yeah.
even moving into the second quarter, it was still looking like Wyoming's game until the very end of the half. I mean, they got a field goal and then an interception, and then they attempted another field goal. I mean, maybe if that last field goal in the second quarter had been hit, would have given them more momentum going into the second half.
Definitely. Wyoming definitely put up more of a fight here than they did last week. against Hawaii.
True that.
But looking at the stat line for Wyoming, nothing really sticks out. Like easily didn't complete half of his passes. Only got 105 yards. Tanner only picked up 89 yards, averaging 4 yards per carry. Wyoming really stuck in this with the defense.
Kind of looks like, at least from the passing stats, that Wyoming was more focused on the rush, but also didn't really see the field that often to be able to take advantage on Fresno. So
Ryan Harris had more passing plays than Wyoming had total plays called.
Dang, that is, wow. That's definitely a stat for the day.
49 points for Harris. 303 yards, respectable game. 6 yards per attempt. He played a good game, and brought Fresno back in the second half to claim the win.
Agreed. And I think this brings us to our final Thursday game: Colorado State and Nevada.
And in this game, we had a defensive end interception.
No.
Dang.
It's always fun when the big linemen get in there and make a difference with the passing game instead of tackling.
Oh yeah. Now you did really good. I think, yeah.
Now, what interests me about Colorado State is that Conroy can consistently throw for 400 games. Scarborough can get his 100 yards receiving, and they still find a way to lose.
It's a very air proportioned team. Like, they focus primarily on the air raid. You could see that Jeffrey Keenan didn't really do much on the ground, only 5 for 19 attempts, so it was very pass heavy. I think that might have been what allowed Nevada to game plan to focus primarily on defending the air, but it still didn't work out for them with 400 yards gashing.
But they got the win, and so they lost the battle to Conroy, but they won the war.
Yep.
Definitely. They held Conroy to a 61% passing. So they didn't really contain him as much as they wanted to, but they still had the interception late to ice the game. This Nevada defense is really good.
Yeah. I think Nevada did very well after the half, making a few adjustments to get used to Conroy's passing game, because it was tied at the half, but Nevada pulled away. And like you said, icing on the cake with the interception. All right.
That brings Nevada to 5-2, and they will try to clinch bowl eligibility next time against San Diego State.
There we go. I think this concludes our Thursday game matchup. Was there any key players that everyone thought performed well?
Well, UCLA game, I mean, yes, it was against Charlotte, but Stephen Gore looked unreal. An 80% completion rate, 424 yards and 4 scores. Minus the interception, he played a nearly perfect game.
I agree with that. I also have to say, you can't really look past the final game we talked about in Devin Conroy. I mean, it was a losing effort, but, they were the underdogs, and he came in and threw for 422 yards. His completion percentage probably could have been a little better, and he had an interception, but I still think that's an impressive effort.
I've come to expect this kind of performance from Conroy. It's just the Rams have trouble sealing the deal.
I can agree with that.
I can agree firsthand. I've had my fair share of trouble with the Conroy convoy.
I bet. I think one player that I want to mention is A.J. Byrne, wide receiver for Wake Forest. 9 for 175 yards. He was, I think, very key in getting the Deacons their first win in this matchup. And, yeah.
Whenever Milner needed to find a receiver, Byrne was there for the most part. Really produced on the big plays.
Definitely. All right, I think this will bring us to our Group of Five conference slate and our coach talk for sure. So,
Yes. Well, since the Saturday morning games have been played, didn't count for that, sadly.
yeah.
Uh, that really brings us to 4 Group of 5 games tonight.
hmm
So, starting in the afternoon, we have Iowa State at Florida International. Mm,
No, no, no. Like, nothing against Florida International, but this is a team that's just starting out. This is their first season, and they're going up against an Iowa State team that's been pretty well this year.
Definitely. Iowa State's a two-headed beast of Pacheco and Wilcox.
hmm
Uh, Florida International's offense, I did some research on them last night, and there's really nothing on that offense. It's bare.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there'll be other games that we'll be focusing on later today, rather than this matchup.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. And then the next one we have would be SMU and Navy.
This one's going to be one of the better ones in the AAC this year.
hmm
Andre Webb versus Chris Bell. Navy looking to tighten their grip on their division.
Yeah. No, like I think this is a very important game for the Mustangs with Andre Webb at quarterback. Even though he's a freshman, the Mustangs have been doing decently. Let's see how they'll do against the midshipmen.
Rashad Oliver can limit Webb's opportunities. Navy should be fine in this one.
hmm
Right. Going on to what is one of the bigger Group of 5 games of the year, actually. We get Toledo at New Mexico.
hmm
Tuscan, I know you're high on the Lobos.
Yes, I am. Yep. I'll be honest. Viva los Lobos.
New Mexico's been winning games on defense, and as Toledo saw last week against Western Michigan, a good defense can shut them down. So, if New Mexico stays honest and shut down Hisu, then they should win this one.
Yeah. And do you have anything to say about this game, Trey, or are you good? Or
Yeah. So I was watching John Calipari get ejected. What are we talking about?
Dude, you're good. All right. Now we're just talking about Toledo and New Mexico upcoming matchup, Group of 5. I think it's an evening game.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel good about New Mexico. I think I'm high on them too. I heard you say that.
Yeah.
I think that I mean I put them in the dark horses for the playoff last week. I think they beat Toledo, and I think they just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
The Cinderella story is continuing for them.
Yep. I'm on the hype train, so I'm gonna keep going on this.
If they win this one, I'll join you on that train.
Yep. I think the Lobos will win this matchup, and I hear people outside of my room. But yeah, and we got Air Force and Tennessee.
Yes, we do.
All right. Let's see. I do know that Air Force Discreto is a very good coach for the Falcons. That's all. As far as I know, like year in year out, he's always performed well. So I think this will be an interesting matchup for both teams.
It'll be Air Force matches up decently well to the Volunteers,
hmm
but at the same time, this is Tennessee we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that you can look past Tennessee for this game. I mean,
hmm
I think they end up winning.
But do expect a good game from the Falcons.
Yeah. All right. And then I think right now we've got coach talk. Or are we good on the conference slate right now?
I mean, do you want to classify Notre Dame as Group of 5?
Oh. I don't know. Shoot. Ouch. Oh man.
I mean, the way they've been playing this year.
All right. I mean that is true. I think the Notre Dame coaches had a really tough time figuring out his team. I think this would be a very good game, at least to maybe make some adjustments, try to change it up, see what works for the Irish.
They're clinging on to life here, but
Yeah.
after last week's loss to the Illini, I really can't buy into the Irish.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would have a comeback, just start doing well again, but I don't know. I'm not going to be as confident for the Irish on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been rough for them.
It's been a very rough year for them.
Agreed. And then, let's see. I think now that we're done considering Notre Dame as group of 5 for this season, coach talk? So, actually, we skipped out on this last week, so I'm not sure how this really goes. Do we just answer questions from the group, or?
Wait, do we talk about our own teams or something?
I mean, we can do that.
I don't understand. I'm just not clear on what coach talk means.
I don't think we ever made that clear.
Yeah.
So
Oops.
hey, coaches out there, why don't you shoot us a few questions?
Yeah. Shoot us some questions.
Also, I'm enjoying the signs that are being thrown out by the Sam.
Yes. This isn't. The Hoosiers definitely aren't in this matchup, but we should have just brought it to Bloomington for this. Like, man, knowledge.
Those Indiana fans always make the best signs.
Dude, for sure.
Between Indiana and Ohio State, the Big Ten has quite a few good sign makers.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I'm still waiting to see some for LSU and Auburn. Don't know if Art and CMC Jill are up right now. Maybe they are, maybe not, but...
I don't see him, sadly.
Well, Rome just asked me a question. Why is Baltimore so shit? Dude. This is college, man. College. College.
Anyway, we all know in the NFL that the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, all right. I think.
I'm gonna withhold comments there.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Seahawks. So.
I mean, we got you guys last time, and we beat the Bengals too. So.
Mhm.
29 the 49ers, but.
All right. Okay.
We just play like shit at home. We play great away. We just hate our fans is the real thing. Like we just hate them, so we just play like shit at home and we win on the road.
All right.
There you go. That's what I meant to do.
Nobody's
Okay.
got any questions.
Come on, Rome. Why is Nevada obviously the best team ever? Okay. I will accept this. All right. Nevada, the best team ever. I have differing opinions because I like the Bears. So. All right. But.
I mean, I can add on to this. I wouldn't call them the best team ever by any means, but that defense is certainly one of the best in the country, and that's really pushing Nevada forward. Now, if they can have an offense that can produce constantly, they might be talking about one of the best teams in the nation.
And I got a recruiting question from Time. If I had to pick two out of the three, these are recruits that I'm trying to go for. And I will never share my secrets, even if the recruitment ends today. Sorry, Time, not happening.
Good attempt. Good attempt.
Is very good. Nice try.
We got a question from Basam. Why does Indiana have 4 losses for combined 8 points, including 3 losses from game-winning field goals with less than a minute left?
Because Indiana does not know how to close it out in the big-time games.
That basically sums it up. My honest answer, Basam?
Your team sucks.
No, I'm not. I'm not that mean.
No.
Tough luck.
Honestly, I got a bit of respect for IU. I think realizing at the end of this game that they've just been choking real bad. Like I feel bad for them, but like I don't want to play them.
They're
I'll say that.
they're a good team, but this is really tough on them.
Yeah. I mean, I just knowing how they're playing against Michigan and Purdue, I don't want to go with that. No. No.
I'm just staying my Matt corner over here.
I think Nephew Jack summed it up best by saying, "God hates Indiana."
God bless the Hoosiers.
Rip
All
in
right.
peace.
I think we're good on coach talk right now. Should we head over to the Friday game results pretty quickly? Just skim through this? Or
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
yeah. Let's throw through
yeah.
this.
All right. Yeah, I just got 10 minutes left before I have to ditch. So,
We haven't seen Dean Squared or Clem yet,
hmm,
but they should be coming on soon.
yeah.
I think Clem said he couldn't make it.
Shoot, did he say that in the inbox?
Yeah, he said, "Sorry guys, I keep getting dragged into shit, can't make it."
Okay.
Clem.
Dang it. All right. At this point, if anyone wants to come on the show, I mean, like, go in the chat box. We'll consider you a guest speaker. You can give some opinions. I think, should we give them access to the prep sheet?
Um.
No.
Nah,
Okay.
They
this
just
is
talk
our
about what we
list
talk
here.
about.
Okay. All right then. Well, let's let's keep going then. Let's see. Friday's matchup: California and Oregon. Pac-12 has been having a very tough time this season, and it's actually I guess this is a good win for Oregon. That's all I could say.
Definitely. After beating Washington last week, they've obviously kept the momentum going, demolishing Cal in Berkeley.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd say that's a very good win for them, that program.
Yeah.
Yep. And let's see, Henry Montgomery with a pick six in the second quarter just to, just increase the lead for Cal, but Cal eventually put points on the board.
Eventually. Only through field goals, sadly. Norris threw for 2 picks, as you mentioned, via pick 6. And is it just me, or has Norris been constantly affected by the turnover bug? I'm recalling the game against Ohio a couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
which was by far one of the ugliest games I've seen. I believe the score is 15-9, I think.
Oh gosh.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Let me go find it real quick on my coach's polls.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, we've had some very interesting matchups. If Norris has been having a problem in the passing game, I think it'd be a good idea for maybe an adjustment in how they are looking at the secondary. I don't know, just giving some tips and advice. So,
All right. Oh darn, it's not the right week. Oh well. Moving forward.
okay. And Louisville and Syracuse. Syracuse actually pulled an upset on this one. I was very impressed with the new coach.
Yeah, Duster really got his guys together and knocked off the Cardinals.
Hmm.
Really fed the ball to Hennessy there. 29 for 45, 396 yards and a score. So, passing-wise, that was very impressive. They just didn't find the end zone as often as they wanted to.
Right. And Dante Freeman was a huge help, getting about 100 yards from the air. He didn't meet the end zone, but he's a very good contributor to these to the passing game.
Definitely. Saved Syracuse this season for a week longer. They're now 2-6. Louisville didn't play a bad game.
Hmm.
I mean, looking at it, maybe if you avoid the interception and the fumble, Okay. See, maybe if you avoid the 2 mistakes there, then they
And
win
you
this
have
game.
to, and you have to think that maybe. Oh wait, no. Okay, this game was on the Carrier Dome. Never mind. I was gonna say that the weather might have played a part in it, but they play inside in Syracuse, so.
I don't know. Maybe there's a leak. We don't know.
All right then. Let's take a quick look at the next matchup. Then Memphis and Houston.
Joking.
Oh yes, Joel King.
An astonishing 85% completion rate, 377 yards, and 2 scores. The defense stepped up with a couple of picks on Brian Jennings, held him.
Dear God, only 7 completions on 25 attempts.
That is 28% for you guys counting at home.
Dang.
And he had -4 yards rushing.
Well, that's probably due to sacks. So yeah.
I'm just usually if it shows up, that means he at least attempted a forward run
Oh shoot. Wow.
because he didn't score a touchdown. So that
Okay.
the only thing that would show up is if he scrambled at least once.
Mhm.
Houston just played a complete game here. I honestly feel bad for the Tigers.
Yeah. This is definitely wasn't their biggest or best matchup, and hopefully, like, even though the Tigers didn't score, maybe they can move on to the next week, and just try to recuperate and try to pick the season back up.
Definitely. Not once did Memphis convert on 3rd or 4th down. So this is just a complete dominance from the Cougars here.
I don't know if I've ever seen a 0 for 12 on 3rd downs before. That's I mean, you're obviously not going to win or even come close to succeeding if you can't at least complete 1 3rd down.
All right. I'm actually gonna have to go right now. Need to get out the door. I'm just gonna say my pick for the game day show right now before I head out, if y'all don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
That's fine. Go ahead.
All right. I think it's gonna be a good matchup. Jazz Durant might have problems this game around with the Tigers. We'll see. As for my pick, I know I like Jazz Durant as a Tiger and as a Heisman candidate, but I'm gonna have to go with LSU on this one. Hold up.
Oh. And we are holding. Oh! Oh no!
That's awesome.
LSU T-shirt.
Oh!
That's great.
Yep. So it's not a mask, but I still got this. So as much as it was awkward, I was just like, fuck it, whatever.
Oh, you're not going to be here when I one-up you.
Okay. All right.
I came
Watch
prepared.
it later.
All right. Sounds good. I'll see y'all later, and I'll answer any questions if people have it. So, peace.
See you, man. Nephew Jack said he will be joining us after a shower. That's definitely how to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the games, we go to Norfolk for. I'm going to say this is college football's version of the toilet bowl.
That's exactly what I was about to call it, the toilet bowl. I don't think the players' families showed up to see this game.
Oh, that's sad is an understatement. But
It was actually a good game though.
oh yeah, we have 0-6 Mid Tennessee and 0-6 Old Dominion.
Middle Tennessee, it appears, like most weeks, have appeared to just not even try to run the ball.
And that's their offense.
I mean, 63 pass attempts. You probably had 4, maybe 5 actual run attempts, and then a couple of sacks. I mean, you have to have balance. I mean, I think I talked about this with their game last time. You have to have balance if you want to be successful, because obviously the defense is just going to key in on Stewart every single play because they know that King's not even going to get the ball ever.
When you only hand the ball off to King 3 times, you make yourself one-dimensional. And that's kind of the case of Colorado State. They just give it to Conroy and really hope for the best. Now, but the thing is, Conroy's a good quarterback as opposed to Robert
Yeah.
Stewart.
There's a difference level, and there's a difference in the talent level there.
I mean, Stewart only averaged 4 yards per attempt here. Is it less?
And he had less than 50% completion rating.
And while he did give 3 scores here, 2 interceptions is not helping your team win, especially when the game was decided by 2 scores.
Well, you see, 2 interceptions wouldn't be a problem if there was a running game complementing the passing game that also got its score too. But when you're the only thing driving your offense, you have to be mistake free completely if you want to win.
And Tennessee State has yet to do that this year.
I mean, I really think. I mean, I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know if they just have no trust in Earl King or there's maybe an injury problem, but I don't understand why they wouldn't try to be a little more balanced.
I mean, they've got to try something new at this point. 0-7, you're not going to a bowl game. It's maybe time to play around a bit.
Yeah,
But I would say despite that, they were in this game in the fourth quarter. It was sealed with a pick 6 with under 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, I mean, I'm looking at their depth chart right now. Earl King is a 1.5 out of 2, so I can understand why they would want to shy away from him. But Robert Stewart's only a 2 out of 2 and a scrambler. So I don't understand. I just don't understand the decision making there.
I don't know what scheme they're running really, but with what they have, maybe going to a more balanced offensive scheme would help them.
Right. I'm just saying I think you're hurting yourself by putting it all on a 2 out of 2 scrambler's arm than not giving. I mean, 1.5 out of 2, that's basically the same as a 2 out of 2, you know. I mean, I just don't understand the coaching there.
Well, hopefully they can get that situation resolved in Murfreesboro. And
they need to. They want to even get 1 win this season, I think.
Or next season, really. They've got to start recruiting as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So now we turn our attention to Oxford, Mississippi. Florida Atlantic went to Ole Miss looking for the upset. Didn't quite come away with it there. And, well, first thing here, one-dimensional.
Yeah, very, very one-dimensional. I don't understand. I just said it on the other time. I don't understand why coaches put themselves in these boxes.
I mean, sometimes it's effective, but it's also very easy to stop.
It's very risky, even if it is successful.
Also true. Combs didn't have a bad game. He completed over 50%, got 280 yards. It's modest, but when you're one-dimensional like that, it's very easy to stop, as Ole Miss demonstrated here.
Exactly.
And I also like to point out Law's performance: 22 of 29, 355 yards, and 3 scores.
Yeah, he had a great game.
Vita said he was worried about this game. Marquise Law's. Oh, and the first score actually came from a punt return from David Edwards, and FAU had the lead. But Marquise Law's put to rest those worries by the end of the third quarter.
And I have to say, looking at this at Florida Atlantic's depth chart, this decision to go one-dimensional, I understand a little more because their quarterback is a 2.5 out of 3.5 pocket passer, and their running back is a 1 out of 2. So that decision I can understand a little better than Middle Tennessee State's.
Yeah, but still, only 2 attempts on the ground from Rasmussen. You're basically setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, you just have your quarterback has to play like basically he has to play like a 5.5 out of 5 and be mistake free if you even want a chance.
I mean,
But I mean, both quarterbacks did put up good numbers. I mean, Combs didn't have a touchdown, but he also didn't have an interception. He was greater than 50% completion, 280 yards. I mean, that's pretty low yardage for how many attempts and completions he had, but it's not terrible numbers either.
yeah, these are decent numbers. I was going to say this was mistake-free football all around, but then I
One
noticed
fumble.
Larry Combs fumbled it, and Sterling Campbell picked it up and put it in the end zone.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, it was a decent performance from Combs, but he's got to do better.
But if it's a decent performance, like you said. But if they wanted a chance to win it, he would have had to complete, 60 of those passes and thrown for 3 or 4 touchdowns to even have a chance.
It's tough to win with the talent difference there, but again, it's got to be mistake free. All right, turning our attention to Bowling Green, Akron at Bowling Green, and this one kind of took me by surprise. A lot of teams.
I was expecting.
Okay, good.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was gonna say I was expecting close game. I don't really know who was gonna win. I did not expect Akron to win so handedly.
Yeah, a lot of coaches have been low on Akron this year, including myself. I guess this was just a time bomb waiting to go off. Connolly didn't have the best of games, only 230 yards, 2 picks. Nathaniel Ruff for Akron, 140 yards and 25 carries. He had a good day.
Yeah. And I was going to say that the defense for Akron, both interceptions came in the second half. They stood tall and made some stops when they needed to when it came down to crunch time.
Yeah, Bowling Green was starting to get momentum in the third quarter, but Justin Rouse, 2 picks.
Yeah, he extinguished that.
He put it out quickly. But Bowling Green was projected by many to be a competitor in that East Division. Well, now they're not even going to a bowl. The season's taken a downturn really fast.
Yeah, they have to be disappointed up there in Bowling Green. It's just not what they expected out of this season at all.
Not at all. All right, next one up is Central Michigan at Buffalo, and I'm going to let you start on this one.
Okay, well, this was a great game, won in the last minute. Walt Sutherland, not as I seem to remember him playing better in past weeks. He had the 2 picks, but 300 yards. He played good. Charles Conley played good. It really just came down to this was one of those games where, especially in the fourth quarter, it really just kind of came down to who had the ball last. It felt like, and Walt Sutherland connected with James Armstrong on a 5-yard touchdown pass with just under a minute to go to give Buffalo or no. Oh, I was reading that wrong. Yeah, my mistake. I did not prepare for these Friday night games at all. Walt Sutherland almost came back. They got within 2 points at the end of the game, but Buffalo ended up winning.
I talked to Seth a little bit after the game, and he says this is by far Conley's best performance of his career. So I'm not entirely mad about this result. Sutherland almost brought us back from a 3rd straight week. He did it against Ball State. He put the game away against Kent, and he very nearly pulled this one off.
I wish we could know if there was an onside kick attempted and who recovered it after that. Just to see, if Central Michigan got the ball back or if they, didn't.
Yeah. Well, I would like to know that as well. That does impact me just a bit. But yeah, overall, we played a great game. If Sutherland could not throw picks, because that's been a problem this year, we'd be much better off.
Yeah, if he eliminates even one of those picks, with it coming down to a 2-point game, that could have been the difference.
Just one of them would have been helped. All right,
because
I
I'm
mean,
looking at it here, and it looks like Buffalo scored 10 points off of turnovers. Um, about 2 minutes after the first interception, they got a touchdown, and about 3 minutes after the second one, they got a field goal.
it's a both teams played a great game. The game plan to shut down Mamadou kind of sort of worked. We held him to a 4.19 yards per carry and only a score, but it I don't know. We really didn't account for Conley in this one.
Yeah. So, Hal, asking you as the coach, what are your expectations for the rest of this season?
Well, we've got one hell of a stretch coming up. The next game is at Eastern Michigan, who, as you saw just last night, and we're actually about to get on that game because that's the next one up. They shut down Emmanuel Fields and held this high-powered Western Michigan offense to 10 points. Mark McLeod is basically Mamadou plus some, so I'm going to have to figure out ways to stop him. But yeah, it's at Eastern Michigan next. Then after a bye, we host Northern Illinois, who many project to win the division. Well, many projected at the start of the year to win the division. And then it's at Toledo, who has knocked off NIU. And then we have a non-con game with USF, and then hosting Western Michigan. We've got a hell of a stretch, and we need to get 3 wins out of it. It's going to be tough, but I think we can do it.
Well, you heard it here on Game Day first. He's predicting a bowl game for his team.
Calling it now.
And okay, you touched on it, so we can go ahead and move to the Eastern-Western game.
But first, I would like to welcome nephew Jack to the show.
Oh, good. So this is working.
Yeah,
yes.
we can see you.
All right. I am in no way, shape, or form prepared for anything. So let's get into this.
We generally aren't either.
Yeah, believe me, this is all wing.
All right. Where are we at? Friday night?
Yeah, Friday night.
Eastern Michigan at Western Michigan.
In Kalamazoo,
Michigan.
Michigan.
Showdown.
All right, just real quick, I love the names of the cities of these directional schools in Michigan.
I don't know. Kalamazoo sounds like the kind of city where you just want to go like spend a Friday night and like it just sounds like an awesome city.
Kalamazoo is the place where you want to play kazoos all night. Yeah, you have Mount Pleasant for Central Michigan. You have Kalamazoo for Western Michigan, and Ypsilanti for Eastern Michigan. All right, but back to the game here. I touched on this just a bit. Mark McLeod had 130 yards and 25 carries and 2 scores. Western Michigan really wasn't, or they prepared for him, but still couldn't stop him.
Which is surprising. This is kind of what we expect out of Emmanuel Fields, not Mark McLeod.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you touched on a second ago, they really shut down Fields. I mean, Western Michigan has a good offense, and they held them to 10 points.
They held.
And something else on Eastern Michigan, Scott Randolph. You know, he wasn't the catalyst for the offense. I was more on McLeod, but he had a very efficient day moving the ball and got that one touchdown. And I mean, you have to be efficient when you're trying to help your team win, and he was definitely that.
Most definitely. Ray Baxter pointed this out earlier, but Emmanuel Fields was held to under 100 yards for just the 3rd time in his career. And that's 23 games. But each time he's been held under 100 yards, they've lost. Twice to TCU and now once to Eastern Michigan.
Well, I mean,
he is their offense.
No one expects anything out of Braden Gruber.
Well, actually, Gruber is the same quarterback that torched TCU earlier in the year.
Really?
Really.
I think that was because TCU was just trying to key in on Emmanuel Fields.
That's true, but Gruber has been able to produce when need be. He wasn't able to do it today, but I have seen him do very well.
I think the problem is, though, hang on, let me look at WMU's depth chart, because I get the feeling that he's not extraordinarily good, and And the problem is if you chase the outlier performances, you're never going to get it out of them again.
Yeah, that's for sure. But if I'm mistaken, he's either 3 or 3.5. I don't know. I've looked at it a few times, but I haven't memorized
If
it.
he's a 3 out of 3.5, then he's what Jamie Avery was his freshman year. So I have some experience dealing with 3 out of 3.5 quarterbacks.
He's a 2.5 out of 3.5 scrambling.
Ooh.
So that's not great.
It's not great, but it's also not horrible.
Yeah.
At times he's been able to produce. Again, wasn't able to do it today against this Eastern Michigan defense, but that's major props to EMU. Now, sadly, I have to
want to
go.
move on to the last Friday night game.
All right, another batch of winless teams. UNLV traveled to San Jose to take on the Spartans.
This game wasn't as good as the other one, though.
Oh, not at all. David Kaplan.
He went off.
David Kaplan is a good quarterback.
I agree wholeheartedly there.
Yeah.
San Jose has the pieces where Eric Hauser puts up picks fairly regularly. I believe it's Joseph Randolph or someone Randolph is their defensive end. Puts up a lot of multi-sack games. Kaplan goes off every so often. The problem is they don't have a head coach, and for some reason, they just can't put it together.
I
They did today.
I touched on it a bit last night. San Jose State is a pretty good team. They're falling victim to the ever so rotating coaching carousel.
Yeah, they just can't get a coach to stay with them.
But in this case, they really shut down UNLV today, or last night. Again, Kaplan went off 4 touchdowns, 348 yards. Really just an overall good performance from San Jose State to pick up that first win.
Yeah. Is UNLV, are they coachless, or do they have a newer person coaching them?
Ooh.
I
They do have someone coaching right now. Let me go to the wiki real quick, because the only 2 vacant spots are oh crud, Boise and, well, not Boise anymore.
Penn State.
Yes, Penn State, Boise, and where are you? Here we go. Louisiana Tech. Couldn't remember it for the life of me.
The only reason I ask is because I'm a little hesitant, having not paid too much attention to how San Jose State has been doing. Problem is UNLV is not good at all, and if they're playing coachless with the roster that they have, which is almost like Conference USA level.
Well, they're also a new team. They're a new team just like the Conference USA in general. So, UNLV does have a coach, but I have not seen him around in a long time, so I would not be surprised if that opens up anytime soon.
Yeah, so
Basically,
good game from San Jose, but a little part of me questions what competition they're going up against.
I mean, a win's a win, especially when it's due like this one.
Yeah, true.
So, all right, so that concludes our Friday night games. Any players that stuck out to you?
I gotta remember. I was high on. Here, come back to me. Let me check real quick. I think one of the guys that had a great game. I don't know if he had the best, but a guy that I'm gonna point out is Buffalo quarterback Charles Conley. He had an efficient game, 2 touchdowns, leading his team.
He really managed the game in this one. And I was also going to point out Conley. Again, best game of his career. It's modest numbers, but he finally was efficient for the ball.
It's not like the kind of game where flashy. He takes over the game, not like a Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M, but more like he managed his team and did what needed to be done, and let his running back do his job, more like a game manager, like an AJ McCarron at Alabama. Impressive game for him, in my opinion.
Well, since you took mine, I'm going to jump on over to David Kaplan. It's a performance we've come to expect, really, but 4 touchdowns, 348 yards, 67% completion percentage. It's about time San Jose State got a win, and this is the kind of performance that brings them wins. And Nephew Jack, who's
Oh, jeez. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through this real quick because I have not looked over the game reports. Oh, Jesus. Man. You two took the ones I was going to take. How about Akron? Justin Rouse putting up 2 interceptions on 4 tackles. It's Bowling Green.
Oh yeah, he really stepped it up today and came through right when Bowling Green was getting some momentum.
Yeah, puts them in a hole, and then all of a sudden everything just gets shut down when you can't get drives going. No, and it wasn't a bad game for Eddie Connolly up to that point. Just wasn't getting it in the end zone, and then all of a sudden you tack 2 picks on there, and all of a sudden 230 yards doesn't seem so great.
Not at all, especially without the touchdown. How did Bowling Green? Okay. Oh, that's an error on the stat sheet. Let me point that out real quick.
No, yeah, Banks should have a rushing touchdown.
Yeah. All right, so that will conclude our Friday night games. Pointed out live on College Game Day.
All
right, that will take us to.
We're going to talk about the Big 12 and Pac games, I think.
Yep, I combined the 2 since both only had 2 games left. It was originally just going to be the Big 12, but again, Saturday morning games are played. So we're going to start with Kansas State at Texas.
All right.
Kansas State and Texas. I think this game's pretty easy to talk about. I think Texas wins fairly easily. Brad Davis out there, quarterback, great quarterback. I think he carves up the Kansas State secondary pretty easily.
Oh, I think so too. I don't think Kansas State can hang in with Texas for long. I do think it's going to be a little closer than expected, though. I expect a few things from Kansas State in this one.
I don't know. There's just not enough on offense to go for Kansas State. Where I think as has been said, Brad Davis is a good quarterback. I think if Kansas State wants to win this, they've got to put points up on the board because I don't know how well anyone can stop that. And I'm looking at a team that's got a 2 out of 3.5 scrambler, and then a fullback who admittedly is a 5 out of 5. It's a fullback who's playing the role of their main running back. I just don't know how well they're going to be doing.
It's not a well-formulated offense, but this is the same team that knocked off Houston, so definitely don't count them out. All right, takes us to the other Big 12 game tonight, Kansas at Oklahoma.
What has been wrong with Oklahoma this year?
I wish I could tell.
I don't know.
They have a good team, but they haven't been able to they haven't had the results to back that up.
Yeah, I think if they want to turn their season around, it has to start tonight.
And what better game to do it than the old Kansas-OU rivalry?
Yeah, I think if they win tonight, then, they could still... I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs or anything, obviously, with 4 losses, but they could still make a nice bowl game. they could, they could probably, win about 7 games maybe.
Potentially.
If they lose tonight, I say that they might not make a bowl game.
Oh
That-
yeah, especially. Go ahead.
Well, okay, yeah, that's very possible considering the conference they play in. There are a few wins they could pick up later on. I've actually got the schedule in front of me. They're yet to play TCU, yet to play Iowa State, and there's always that game against Dactor and the Colorado Buffs. Because who knows what Colorado brings to the table at this point. But if they lose this one, it's very, very possible that they won't make a bowl.
Yeah, I don't know if you've already got 3 losses out there, playing in the Big 12, where I honestly don't. The way TCU is starting to shape up, and the fact that they've had down games against teams like ECU, I don't think they can put it together if they don't win tonight and really start drastically turning things around. And they've got the talent on the roster.
Oh,
Graham Burnett is not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. They 4.5 out of 4.5 running back. Just they got to turn around. They got to start getting some momentum going for them.
It really depends on if they can stop Eric Jennings and this Kansas offense. But as we've seen, that's very possible. All right. So to the Pac-12, we have Arizona State at winless Oregon State.
Yeah, Oregon State. They're in kind of the same situation as San Jose State, I think, with even a less talented roster. There's just a level of attrition that keeps coming up when you don't have coaches, you don't have people really doing recruiting, and they really just have been struggling this year.
I mean, they have a coach.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, they do have hat trick Joel. I mean, shit. But like, more of what I meant by that is there's just the roster attrition. I think at this point. You don't have as talented a squad, I don't think.
I mean, it's definitely not a bad squad by any means, but I don't know. Either game planning has been off for quite a few of these, or they just haven't been able to put it together. I think they're better than 0-6, but I don't know. They're still not that great of a team by any means.
The depth chart real quick.
You have anything to add, Trey?
No, I think y'all guys pretty touched on everything.
Who are they playing again?
Arizona State.
Arizona State. Arizona State is always a team that is at least decent, but I never really think about.
They're an off-the-radar team.
It's still Pickle Juice who's coaching them, right?
Yeah.
And Pickle Juice is almost unparalleled in his shit talking, but not a lot of attention that gets brought to any of the players. And they've got a heck of a team now that I'm actually looking at it.
It hasn't come together either. I mean, 4-3, yeah, decent record. It's probably a bowl game, but they've got a few losses on there that they probably could have prevented.
Yeah, let me bring up the schedule.
And what you had last week against BYU. I know they've had UCLA.
Yeah, they played UCLA. UCLA, I think, is a pretty decent. I mean, you don't get to 6-0 without being at least decent. Yeah, lost to Arkansas. I mean, they beat Southern Miss, they beat Bowling Green, they beat Colorado, and they beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, they're a good team. I will admit that, but I don't know. They don't have the pieces to compete for the Pac-12 title.
Yeah, they're kind of sitting in the middle where there's, I look at the rest of the year for them. They got Utah, Oregon, USC. All of them are conference games, and then they've got Arizona at the end of it. I can see them pulling it out because Oregon has not been world beaters at this point. USC, I think I could see a win. I don't know about Utah. I haven't really been paying attention to how good Utah is, but Mormon Laser Cannon pull off anything if he really wants to. But yeah, they're in a weird position where they have winnable games left on the schedule, but it's basically just trying to chase a higher level bowl game and a higher level finish, less than trying to beat UCLA in the race to the title.
At this point, yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Now moving forward, we have Washington at Southern Cal.
And I think this game really, whichever team wins it, it'll be a nice win for either team to try to, get their season headed in the right direction, because both of them are, they're both toiling right around 500 right now.
Yeah. Washington hasn't had the best of years so far, and neither has Southern Cal really. They've got losses to Miami and Ohio State. Of course, we have seen where Ohio State's go. I can't exactly fault them for that one. But they've played well against the teams they've needed to beat. And that should continue today, but never count out Washington.
Yeah, I mean, even their losses haven't been that bad. I mean, the Pittsburgh loss is obviously kind of the stinker. Get shut out. But I mean, Pittsburgh's not a bad team, and then Alabama fifth in the country when they played them.
I would think the loss to Oregon last week is kind of the stinker.
Did they lose to Oregon last week?
Not last week, but week before.
Okay.
44-35.
Because I've just got I think it's Clem's score sheet up, and he's got it listed as a win.
Oh, I looked at it earlier.
Yeah, might be my bad.
I looked at it today, actually. Yeah, they've
She
lost.
does
Oregon.
have mistakes occasionally.
Come again?
Sorry?
I said Clem's sheet does have mistakes sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hang on 1 sec. So
I have noticed that.
it'd be week 7?
We can. Oh, what am I? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. Why am I trying to read the Excel numbers? That's always a bad idea.
Week 7, Saturday afternoon. Washington at Oregon. Yeah, Oregon win. So yeah, that is the stinker on there, especially getting involved in a shootout. Or more of not really a shootout, just Oregon's defense shut them down. You get literally 3 fumbles in the game.
I mean, Oregon
Not shut them down, but Jesus, I don't even know how this game happened.
There's kind of something there. But Oregon's not a bad team by any means, but this is definitely not the year Washington envisioned. They can still turn this thing around starting tonight, but it's basically just chasing the high-level bowl games, which you mentioned with Arizona State.
Yeah. And I think at this point for Washington, even just trying to turn the ship around a little bit, because you start the season off, I think, with greater expectations. I mean, maybe not a win against Alabama, but you're expecting to not lose to Pittsburgh and Oregon after putting together decent wins against Cal and Army.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see if they can turn around tonight. If not, they do have BYU the next week. So here's hoping for the best for Killa.
Yeah, it's strange to think this is the same Washington team that was just playing Notre Dame in the national championship.
Yep.
Right. Anything else to add?
They're playing. So USC. How's their season been going?
Losses at Miami and to Ohio State. Wins at North Texas, Colorado, and Georgia State.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Playing well against the teams they were supposed to beat. Not quite sealing the deal against the tougher competition.
Yeah. I mean, hanging 49 on North Texas and 41 on Colorado. definitely good signs. I think this could be a struggle for Washington if USC has one of their is they actually able to translate that into maybe a higher. Because I don't know if I'd qualify Washington as that high level of competition if they're putting up a game against Oregon like that.
Oh, I have an hour. Okay, so yeah, we've got to get this thing on the go.
All right.
All right, so time to
Morning
move
games.
on to this morning's results. Also, shout out to CMC Gil for that awesome sign there.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Just posted it. But yeah, this morning produced quite a few good games. And we're going to start with Tulsa at Georgia State. And the Panthers put together quite a performance here.
Yes, they did.
Got two.
I think
Come on. This thing's not loading for me.
it's crazy how Georgia State's played this season, given how bad they've been in the past.
I mean, this is a team that's now 5-2. They're obviously doing something right this year, as opposed to the last few.
Yeah, a lot of 25 to kind of that 25-30 yard range field goals. So I mean, GSU obviously a win's a win, but looking to move forward, just got to finish these off rather than having the drives that are just stalling right before you get into scoring position.
I mean, they can be they could get words. Okay. They got a little fortunate with that this time, but they do need to put the ball into the end zone more.
Yeah. The way I look at it, even if they convert on half of those, all of a sudden we're looking at an extra 8 points on the board. It's 41-17, and Tulsa again, not a really world-beating team, but at the same time, hanging 41 on a team like that kind of gives the idea that Georgia State's at the point where there are teams that they can blow out, which is something we've never seen before.
Yeah. A few things from the game. You have Evan Grant getting 120 yards in the score. James Jordan put up a modest 260 with a 76% completion percentage. It wasn't a terrible game from Tulsa, though. Bolton threw for 329 yards and 2 scores. Nothing. Again, Tulsa's main issue here was third down efficiency. Only 3 for 14.
Yeah, 3 for 14. Although, if you look on the other side of the table, Georgia State, 5 for 15 isn't all that much better.
No, yeah, that's true. Still a lot better than 3 for 14, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not bad games from either team. Georgia State just got it done.
Mm-hmm.
Now we
So
go.
moving on to my favorite game of the day.
I can
I'll
only
let y'all
wonder
talk
why.
about it.
So, off to Chapel Hill, NC. I'm not going to hide any disdain. Well, Calvin Jones had a pretty good game for the Yellow Jackets here. 180 yards and 27 carries and 2 scores. North Carolina really didn't have an answer for him.
Yeah, the 72-yard run for the touchdown right in the first quarter really kind of sets the tone for the day. And I mean, they keep it close, but that ends up being close to the difference, even with the extra point being blocked.
I mean, neither quarterbacks appeared to be fantastic here. Both hovered around 50%. Jamie Avery actually did get 50%. Only 122 yards and 139 respectively here. Georgia Tech had a missed 58-yarder at the end of the first half.
Give the kid props for trying.
Oh, I'd definitely give him. I mean, if he makes that, then wow. 58 yards is something. But this was a tight game up to the end where Ashton Britt picked off Matt Laws.
Yeah. I think in the third quarter, where Georgia Tech manages to put 9 points in between them, make it a 2-score game. I think at that point, that's kind of when the game gets away from UNC, where fourth quarter comeback doesn't happen and the interception really seals it.
Aside from that third quarter, momentum really wasn't on anyone's side. Because once you get in the third quarter, Georgia Tech again puts up 10 points there, but UNC does get it back early in the fourth, only for a moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you really want to hope, you're really hoping for a touchdown there. You get the field goal, and then, quarterback maybe starts making, or Loss maybe starts making more risky decisions, and you get the interception, and the game's over.
Oh, yeah. Anything you want to add to this, Trey?
Well, I'm glad I got the win. It's been a tough couple of years with I'm thankful to Jamie Avery for all he's done for the program, leading us to our first bowl game and whatnot. But I'm excited for my two red shirts that are going to be coming out next year, quarterback and wide receiver. Hopefully bring some excitement down to the flats.
Yeah, expect big things from your program next season. So, A, go to Hell Carolina, and B, off to Virginia, where Pittsburgh continues their string of close games / wins and beating the Cavaliers 21-13. Luke Williams got 341 yards and a touchdown off of 27 for 47.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Austin was able to pick off Mateo Rook late in the fourth quarter to ice the game. And, yeah. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Pitt gets some help from special teams, 89-yard punt return for touchdown from Xavier Jack. All in all, not a terrible game by UVA. Just they give up the punt return, they give up the touchdown pass. They're in a 14-point hole, and at that point, the comeback sort of gradually happens. You put a fifth quarter on this, maybe UVA brings it back to tie it all up. But to a certain extent, just gets itself into a hole and didn't have a quick enough comeback.
As I've learned, it's really tough to come back from those holes, but they almost pulled it off. But again, Daniel Austin took away all hope of a minute 58 to go, and Pittsburgh walks away with another one.
Yeah, 2 sacks for Michael McBride, get good pressure on Rook, and 270 yards, touchdown, and interception isn't necessarily a bad game, but it's certainly not a good enough game when you're, giving him the ball 40, telling him to throw it 43 different times.
It's amazing how one interception can change the outlook on a game.
Yeah.
So we turn our eyes to Boston, Massachusetts, where the number one team in the country, Boston College, absolutely manhandled Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a beatdown.
Yeah, the BC defense really put the hammer on them.
Oh boy. Benjamin Robinson with a forced fumble and fumble recovery.
Yeah, touchdown.
Or a touchdown.
Yep, Jeffrey King gets the sack for the safety.
Jamal Norwood, 3.5 sacks.
I mean, any one of those three guys could be your national defensive player of the week candidate.
Yeah. Virginia Tech putting up a 3.1 offensive line rating, 1 for 11 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. Not a good look for Virginia Tech.
Not at all. They've been struggling this year, mainly because of the offensive line's inability to block.
Yeah. Offensive line isn't playing well, and I think, they lose Jarius Shaw-Dodd. All of a sudden, Dobbs needs more time in the pocket because you don't have, blistering speed coming out there and getting open real quick.
Yeah, Dickerson's trying here, but they're unable to pull it off. Yet a modest game from Alex Ashore. I mean, 23 for 31, 74% is...
He's definitely put up flashier numbers.
Oh, yeah, but in a game where your defense just manhandles them, you don't have to put up flashy numbers.
Yeah, I mean, even, 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. It might not be the flashiest number, but still very solid performance from a guy, one of the better quarterbacks in the nation.
This won't be looked at as a game that really boosts his Heisman candidacy, but
It doesn't hurt him either.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt him at all. So, if we have nothing else to add here, we go down to Morgantown, where West Virginia and Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, so not one of the better games for Muhammad. 2 picks, okay yardage, and gets the job done a little bit more with his legs, but those 2 interceptions really cost him, especially since got one of them going back for a touchdown.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I've never realized before that their starting quarterback and starting running back are Ahmed. That's classic.
Yeah, and then
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then 2 for 14 on 3rd down also does not help.
Ooh. Yeah. Defensively, it was a pretty good game. They could have done a little more to limit Sean Bell. Still got 6 yards per carry and a score, but it wasn't horrible. They were able to pick off Marcus Schwartz. Schwartz had a fairly decent game, 176 yards.
Yeah, got the long TD pass for 65 yards.
Yeah, so even then, most of it came. They were able to hold down Baylor for the most part, but again, 2 turnovers from Foster here, not helping at all.
Yeah. Baylor gets the 2 big plays, the 65-yard bomb and the interception for the touchdown, and neither West Virginia or Baylor, I think, really starts throttling the other one.
No one had a good grip on this game. No one was able to get them close to a back grip.
Yeah.
And
those big plays and turnovers really came back to hurt West Virginia.
Well, now Baylor's bowl eligible, so congrats to Tuscan.
I don't think anyone after last year was really expecting Baylor to jump out to a 6-1 start.
Yeah.
They've definitely played nice this year so far.
Try as I might, I could not stop them. That seems to be the story for a lot of people this year. So let's go to a pretty good rivalry game here.
Yeah,
Indiana at Purdue, the old Oaken Bucket.
The best thing about this rivalry is what high level the coaches take it to.
Yeah.
And Spiral and the Sam have to be 2 of the most passionate coaches when it comes to this. Yeah.
And it was a great game on the field, too.
Oh, this game only backs it up more.
A real full event summary here.
Indiana jumped out to a 17-0 lead and extended it to 20-3 early in the 3rd. But Purdue just did what any team has done to Indiana over the past few weeks.
Yeah. The 4th quarter is not pretty.
At all.
If you're an Indiana fan.
I mean, all right, 23-10 going into the 4th quarter. C.J. Sheffield, who had a really nice game, 129 yards for 26 carries and 2 scores, gets a second score on an 11-yard touchdown run. Makes it a 6-point game.
Yeah, 2 minutes later, you get a pick.
Patrick Chaney, right on him. And then, I'm assuming after a couple of possessions, weren't able to capitalize off of the pick. Matt Jones finds Frederick Bartlett to put Purdue up with 4 minutes to go. Tristan Callahan, Indiana's kicker, 23-yard field goal, minute 33, 26-24. Think Indiana has it in the bag?
Nope.
Not quite.
It's Indiana.
Ryan Bolton.
Indiana is the king of losing games in the last minute of the 4th quarter.
Yeah. I mean, you let them. I mean, either you've got some sort of special teams coverage breakdown that lets them get a decent return, otherwise your defense is buying far too hard into bend and not break if you're letting them drive in the final minute and 30 seconds.
Indiana's just in a. You got to feel bad for them.
Yeah.
What? This is the 3rd or 4th time this year that they've lost in the final minute.
Yeah, and this it really isn't a game where I can point to any part of the team and say this is why they deserve to lose. Like, Rupp again doesn't put up the world's best stat line, throws that pick that ultimately doesn't give Purdue any points, but, running backs putting up at least 4 yards per carry, got a touchdown, defense gets a sack. I mean, maybe one thing is offensive line play. Purdue gets at least 2 sacks, but...
Other than that, Indiana's a good team, but just can't get it done. Get it done late, then you're talking, 5-6 wins already?
Yeah.
Now, Coach Insproul of Purdue has announced in the shout box that he does not feel bad for Indiana at all for losing.
Are you surprised?
Not at all.
Vintage Insproul. And I will say the signs that the two of them have produced today have been pretty good. In fact, Insproul has posted another one like 9 minutes ago. Let's see what it is. Oh,
That's a good one.
That's a nice one there.
I think at both Purdue University and Indiana University there are actual courses on college game day sign making.
I would not be surprised. In fact, sign me up.
All right. So we
So
want
now
to
we-
move on.
Yep, State College, Pennsylvania, where the Max Miami Redhawks Lions. And I gotta say, I'm disappointed by this one. I expected a better game from Miami.
Yeah, Miami just looked overmatched, particularly with Penn State defense. Shamar Ware, 2 sacks, one of them a fumble. Pair of picks, one of them for a touchdown.
Yeah,
Just Miami's offense did not look very good.
Not at all. This isn't the kind of game you'd expect from Douglas Graham, a pro quarterback hopeful, and one of the best in the MAC. Again, the pair of picks, only 190 yards. You had Damian Mays fumbling. He only produced 69 yards on 18 carries. Really just overall a bad performance from Miami.
Yeah. And even, defense also. Tanner Bowman was up 36 for 300, 2 touchdowns. Ricky
300
Vega,
yards.
very good decent yards per carry.
They weren't able to cover Jamal Brown-Sanderson at all. 160 yards on 10 receptions.
Yeah, he was pretty much doing whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah, and Morgan Patton's got the 59-yard touchdown bomb, brings him up. But yeah, Miami just not a very good look.
I expected better from the Redhawks, especially with this being a important game for them, either in reaching bowl eligibility or picking up a marquee win for the program.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about third down, fourth down efficiency all game. 1 for 12 and then 0 for 2.
Again,
Just every single drive, 3 and out.
Penn State was able to hold them down. Props to them. All right, so let's go to Gainesville, Florida here. 75 degrees. I wish we had that kind of weather right now. Florida, 38-13 over the Wildcats. Rabbits, no man, not having a great year of this program.
Yeah. I think a lot of this is on the shoulders of A.J. Bowden for Kentucky.
3 picks. One of them to Prince McGill. Again, one of the better safeties in the country. Just kind of rubbing salt in the wound. Returning that pick for a touchdown with 5 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Jaden Grant really puts Kentucky in a hole.
I did not see that stat line.
Jesus. I mean, 3 of his 4 touchdowns come in the second quarter. Kentucky gets out to an early 3-point lead, and all of a sudden, UF makes it a 3-possession game. That's just gross.
Grant throws for 438 yards and 69%. A lot of those throws went to Raymond Givens. 10 receptions, 153 yards, and 2 scores. That's the kind of game you want a receiver to have.
Yeah. See if I can bring up the depth chart real quick.
Uh, Florida really just took it to him today.
Yeah, I mean, Florida trying to replace Yancey Musgrave. Jaden Grant 3.5 at a 4.5, stepping into his shoes fairly well if he can continue to put up that kind of performance. Yeah, and Raymond Givens is actually just a 2.5 out of 2.5, so really stepping up.
Wow. I 2.5 getting that much production.
Yeah,
That's insane.
I mean, yeah, Florida dropped off a little bit of a cliff, I think. After last year and the year before, where they were always kind of in title contention, or at least not kind of nominally in the title contention, but could never really put it together between coaching issues or what have you. But yeah, they've dropped a little bit off of a cliff here, trying to replace Yancey Musgrave. Not a whole lot of receiver support. No one above 3 out of 3.
But certainly didn't look like it today, though.
Yeah, good game for them if they're looking to see what the future of the program is.
Yeah. All right, so we go to Storrs, Connecticut here, where honestly one of my favorite teams here just continues to roll through the competition. UConn beats UCF 28-17. Let's see. Ricardo Reed gets 120 yards on 23 carries. That's 5.2 yards per carry and a score. Just a good
UConn
game.
just keeps on winning.
Yeah, major props to Blitz.
Yeah, I mean, what? They're all right. At the moment they're in control of that division. Already wins over USF and now UCF, two of the bigger competitors. They still have to play East Carolina and Temple, but if they can pull those off, they'll be on the other end of American Championship game against Houston, maybe SMU.
Yeah, I think Navy's got the advantage right now. Although no, I don't think either of them. Yeah, Houston's loss is a non-conference game, so.
Yeah, but at the same time, you've got an undefeated Navy squad right now.
Very true.
Denoris Jackson had a pretty decent game. Got into the end zone twice, but that is not divide. Only managed 4.48 yards per carry, so not terrible, but UConn did enough to limit him.
Yeah, I mean DNJ is, what we've come to expect out of him has been a little bit better of a performance. Can't fault him for it, but at the same time, definitely need more yardage because not a good game from James Mitchell.
No, not at all. When your running back gets held in check like that, you've got to be able to produce. He was not able to do that. UConn's defense in the fourth quarter really stepped it up. Held UCF scoreless, got the pick, which ultimately led to the final points of the game. And then just for those last 9 minutes, kept UCF really...
Yeah, because UCF actually was going in there with the lead coming out of the third quarter.
Finney and the UConn defense really turned it around.
Yeah.
Got to give props to them.
Yeah, a lot of penalties, I don't really have anything useful left to say about this one.
Yeah, I mean, UConn's just moving right along. All right, so that concludes our Saturday morning results. Any players you guys want to point out?
I think
Jaden Grant for Florida really steps it up. 438 yards, 4 touchdowns, and as I mentioned earlier, UF is definitely looking for, who's going to replace Yancey Musgrave, kind of leading that offense, give the team a little bit of an identity moving forward. While it's been a little bit of a down year for Kentucky, trying to figure out where they're going moving forward, I really feel like, UF has to be encouraged by this kind of game.
Most definitely here. Trey?
I think I'm going to go with Calvin Jones from the
Homer.
Georgia Institute of Technology. He's actually been playing well all year. At one point earlier in the season, I don't know if it's still true, he was actually leading the ACC in rushing yards. although I don't know if that's true anymore.
Well, probably after this game, he's definitely up there. I'm gonna go take a guy. Well, I can't really pick a guy here from a Boston College, from Virginia Tech game, so I'm just gonna go the entirety of the BC defense. I'm gonna cheat a little bit.
That's a good call.
You've got three phenomenal players today. Benjamin Robinson again, forcing the fumble, recovering said fumble, taking it to the end zone. Jeffrey King getting the sack for a safety, and Jamal Norwood 3.5 sacks. They really just obliterated Virginia Tech's offense. So that will do it for Saturday morning. Now we go to, let's get a little bit of coverage here for our game of the week. The Auburn Tigers at 7-0, traveling to Baton Rouge to take on LSU.
All right.
Well, I think both teams are pretty much the worst teams in the league. But I do think LSU has the upper hand here, coming in playing spoiler to Auburn's perfect season. I just think that LSU is going to pull off sort of an upset.
Well, Auburn here, again, one of the best running backs in the nation. He's on the season. He's got 1,197 yards and 12 touchdowns. But he's also been able to produce a bit in the air, getting 92 yards and 6 receptions, and again, 2 touchdowns. The thing is, LSU has a defense that Auburn hasn't quite gone up against yet.
Yeah. I mean, the front seven for Auburn, or the front seven for LSU is really going to make the difference here today, I think. Definitely a lot of talent. Let me check and see. How's Auburn's offensive line looking?
2.9 rating.
Yeah, Auburn. I mean, Auburn's really got to see someone step up on the offensive side. Best center 2.5 out of 5. Still redshirt freshman. Not a whole lot of leadership I see on this line. Not a whole lot of high skill or potential. So it's really going to be how dependent on offensive line playing at least manage or Martin fairly well. I think that's really going to be the story for whether or not Auburn can continue to put it together like they have.
One thing I will point out is actually not the running game for Auburn. You've got a 5-5 quarterback in Ja'Cory Kessler here, and some pretty decent receivers led by Oscar Marroquin, who's a 3-4. But LSU secondary, led by
Eugene Malone.
Yeah, that's okay. I couldn't remember her name for a second. I didn't jot it down. I'm sorry. You've got a secondary here that's arguably one of the best in the nation, and they're going to make this game. They're going to make this Auburn offense rely on Jazz Durant and the inconsistent offensive line. And that front seven, as you said, is really good. You've got Robert Fulton at defensive end, who's just been phenomenal. And Jazz Durant's got to find some holes here, or else it's not going to end well.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if we swing it around to the other side of things, how well LSU's offense is going to match up with Auburn. We got a redshirt freshman, Elias Allen Hollis at quarterback for LSU, Jaden Huff at running back.
Yep. Auburn's front seven doesn't match up at all to LSU's here. LSU has an offensive line rating of 3.7. Auburn's D line is only 2.9. I want to say LSU relies on the run game a bit more today, especially if Thomas Mims lurking in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, no one on LSU's team is sticking out to me as being too terribly great on the defensive side of the ball, but decent, pretty good linebacking core. So I personally wouldn't be surprised to see if if LSU tries to shift it a little bit more towards the passing game, just with trying to exploit some of the safeties that are a little bit less skilled than I think if you're looking at where they're at inside and outside linebacker.
If LSU does indeed go to the passing game, they've got to hope Messiah Bernard gets quite a few catches in.
Yeah, I mean they've probably slightly higher skilled wide receivers, I think, even than Auburn does. So not riding on his arm if he tries to. They're going to try and pull the upset.
Mims has to be able to stop Bernard. But again, I see LSU taking to the ground on this one. Maybe.
Yeah.
Jaden Huff definitely has the experience, or has a skill to produce. I mean, to this point, he's got 434 yards and 102 attempts. And yeah, one advantage here that LSU has that isn't talked about that often is the punting game. Their kicker's a 3.5, as opposed to Auburn's 2.0 punter. So field position is going to be in LSU's favor, and that could effectively determine a difference. And I think that will make a difference in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult just because we don't get too many punting stats, but I think at the same time, though, I'm not sure how much of a difference we're going to see, especially because we've got a 2 out of 4.5. So I mean, Auburn or Zach Kaufman, who's Auburn's punter, definitely has the ability to play up to a higher level. But very, very true that punting game probably when we've got a situation like this where the teams are at least fairly well matched on either side of the ball. Field position definitely going to play a big part.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a good game here, that's for sure. And I'm certainly anxious to see the results. All right. Anything else you want to add?
I think we covered everything.
All right. So, what are a few big matchups tonight that you're looking forward to, aside from this one?
I think Ohio State, Minnesota will be a good game.
Yeah, that is the one I'm looking forward to. This one's interesting because Minnesota's a really good team, and I think they have the defense to compete with Musa Good, Cody Albright, Isaiah Cronin. Ian Gardner is going to be on Cronin today. That's a matchup to dream for.
Yeah. One game I'm looking at is New Mexico at Toledo. Toledo trying to run the MAC, get ready, building off of some very good recruiting classes. And New Mexico, kind of a surprise team, out to a 6-0 start. I don't think anyone before the season was really predicting that they'd be the ones winning their division in the Mountain West.
Well, I touched on this a little earlier, and I'm going to say it again. New Mexico wins their games of defense. Toledo, as we saw last week against Western Michigan, can be shut down by a good defense. I think New Mexico can do that again today, but if Toledo's offense does get going, watch out.
Yeah.
We've also got Alabama and Arkansas. It may not be up to the level of these games, but it's interesting to see how Sean Stinton performs against this Alabama defense.
Yeah. We already talked a little bit about the Washington USC game.
Yeah.
Both of them kind of trying to figure out where they're at in the Pac-12.
I know Time wants to talk more about SMU and Navy, but we've already touched on that quite a bit. Again, Rashad Oliver's responsible for limiting Andre Webb here. And if SMU can handle Chris Bell, or if it really comes down to who can handle the other one. Navy's got to keep Andre Webb in check, and the SMU rush defense has to s- and just have to hold Belle out.
Yeah. My personal game of the week, Colorado State at Nevada, already over, so can't talk all that much about it, but
Good performance there by the defense.
yeah. Just trying to see who else is playing.
I think that's. Oh yeah, Kansas, Oklahoma. Forgot about that one.
Yeah. Kansas,
yeah.
Oklahoma trying to figure out what direction they're going to be heading in for the rest of the season, try and get a better bowl game more than try and win a very competitive conference. Kansas, I think, trying to elevate themselves a little bit and get themselves, into the very kind of swing of things, into that kind of Big 12 title conversation.
Yeah. Kansas has suffered a couple of losses here to teams on the other side of the division. But if they can run the table on their side, which is entirely possible, then they should be fine. Maybe in the playoffs, but we'll touch on that in a bit.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 is just a competitive enough conference where, Kansas, they win their conference games, other teams are definitely going to stumble.
Yeah. So let's take a look at a few of the Heisman candidates this week. I'm going to start at the bottom of my list here. I think it's time we start talking about Elijah Moffett at Rutgers. He's put up 2,153 yards and 17 touchdowns. Of the quarterbacks on this list, though, he has thrown the most picks, but he's got Rutgers up to a 5-1 start. They beat Michigan State last week. They're on bye this week. What do you think of Prophet Moffett?
My only problem with him is the interceptions, but the yardages are very good. It appears from what I'm looking at, he's only behind Matty Swift in terms of yards.
Yeah. There's another
He's
guy.
very.
Might be behind Brad Davis. I don't have the stats up at the moment, but Brad Davis also has over 2,000 yards. But yeah, he's got Rutgers out.
But he's in the top three. At worst, he's third. So those interceptions are worrying, though. I don't know if you could vote him over
A couple of the other guys
Matty
here.
Swift or somebody with those number of interceptions. I mean, I would even, honestly, in my rankings, I'd even put Brett Fisher over Moffett just because of the only 2 interceptions and very close in yardage.
Yeah. And that's actually the next guy I'm going to touch on here. Brett Fisher of Miami. Also has Miami to a 5-1 start. 2,060 yards, 14 touchdowns, and just the 2 picks. Last saw him in action against North Carolina where he went off on the Tar Heels. I believe he also has a bye this week. Yeah. Between him and Alex Shore, the ACC's got pretty good representation so far. LaShore having 1,786 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 3 picks for the number 1 team in the country. Again, they handled Virginia Tech today, but a modest performance from LaShore. Didn't help, but didn't hurt either. Continuing over. Go ahead.
I don't have any stats on me, so it's a little difficult for me to say more. Those updated? Are they updated on the wiki? Because last time I checked, they were pretty incomplete.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
Don't check the wiki here.
Yeah, it's looking like we still got a bunch of just 1, 2, 3 games.
Yeah, there's a Google Doc with a bunch of stats on them. That's where I'm getting most of this.
Oh, okay.
We touched a bit on Cody Albright last week. He's got Ohio State up to 6-0 now. 1,750 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4 picks. He's got Ohio State in a good spot. And today's game against Minnesota can really bolster his reputation. And then Christian Barkley for Texas Tech. Maybe not as gaudy as numbers as other guys on this list, but he's here with 1,804 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 2 picks. He's got Texas Tech to 5-1, wins over Texas and Kansas, which is very hard to do. And they'll get TCU later on in the year, where we could effectively see him, I don't know, maybe bring Texas Tech to the title game. It's very possible. You can't have a Heisman list without Matty Swift. Thing is, A&M is 5-2 now. They've lost to Auburn and Ohio State, and yet he's got 2,570 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 2 picks.
He's definitely my favorite, I think.
He's a favorite right now. I'll agree with that, but again, A&M struggling against better teams. However, depending on how he performs against Bama, we could see him just run away with it. Either way, it's not his race yet.
I agree.
Now, there's a couple running backs I want to touch on before we move on. Jazz Durant, I touched on earlier, with nearly 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, and then 92 reception yards and 2 touchdowns. But Asante Sowell of Wisconsin, he only has 7 yards less rushing and has the same amount of touchdowns. He just doesn't get in the receiving game often. They're almost evenly matched, and I would personally want to see these two go off against each other.
Yeah. We got the combine ratings for Sowell at least. So Sowell's really looking like he's going to be the first running back taken in the draft, unless something big comes up in kind of the individual combine stuff.
Yeah, Sowell's one hell of a back, and any NFL team would be lucky to have him.
Yeah.
So I learned that I am heading out in like 13 minutes, roughly.
You want to go ahead and do like predictions for the rest of the games and then call it quits?
We can skip out on the SEC and Big Ten conference slates. We've touched on basically all of the games for those. Although a couple games to note here: Illinois at Nebraska, or Nebraska at Illinois. We're backwards on the sheet. Why do we do this? Nebraska's got to rebound after a tough loss to Whiskey. But the Illini aren't that great of a team. They should be able to recover.
Yeah, I'll take Nebraska on this one.
Georgia's at South Carolina, which could be an interesting SEC game. May not want to let Trey talk here.
What about Georgia? They're going to lose.
It's very possible, actually.
They always lose.
That 5-1 record is actually 0-6. Can confirm.
They're 0-27.
Yeah, Notre Dame at Missouri. Notre Dame still experiencing the extended post-championship hangover.
This is going from hangover to hospitalization. Notre Dame is in a really bad spot, and this game against Missouri is not going to help. It's actually going to kill Notre Dame's chances if they lose.
Yeah, not bowl eligible anymore. Quite a disappointing turnaround for them.
Yeah, quite a turnaround indeed. Mississippi State at Army. I don't know how Army will fare against the Bulldogs here. I'm just going to say not well. Mississippi State's done a pretty good job. They beat Arkansas last time out, and Army is nowhere close to Arkansas in terms of talent. The Army will make it a game. And we've already touched on Arkansas, Alabama, and Air Force, Tennessee. And we touched a bit on Minnesota, Ohio State as well. So that leaves us with Wisconsin, Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern's put together, I think a better season than anyone's really expected during Northwestern's existence, but
they've got to go up against Asante Sowell today.
Yeah.
That won't end well. But still, it's a decent year. I don't think they're as great as the record shows, but that's just my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think Northwestern is happy with the season where they end up bowl eligible. And I think, having not taken too close of a look at their schedule.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Yeah, let's see. So they've still got to play Iowa, or wait, no, they played Iowa.
They lost Iowa.
They lost to Iowa. They've got Wisconsin, Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan, Army, Ohio, and Purdue. At Ohio and the Army game, probably
winnable.
more winnable than the rest of the games on the slate.
4 of the 6 teams they play are ranked.
Yeah. So Northwestern's really going to come up with an upset if they want to be bowl eligible.
Oh, yeah, that is true. Their best chance of that's probably at Nebraska, though. Just based on how Nebraska's performed up to this point.
Maybe Minnesota, just because they're at kind of a lower level than, Purdue, Michigan. But really, really a difficult slate for them to try and kind of replicate some early season success against some not so great teams.
Oh, it's going to be a tough road for Northwestern, that's for sure. I do want to do the playoff predictions just real quick, because I know our viewers absolutely love that. So
I'm not up to date on my predictions.
Wait, these aren't yours?
No, I just copied and pasted last week's, and I was going to update them at some point, but I didn't.
Oh. Tuscan's not here. Do you have any predictions, Jack?
For just who's going to win the games, or?
Really just top 8.
I don't think much changed from last week.
Aside from Florida State?
Yeah.
Well,
let me just... Here, I can do it pretty quick.
Alright, I guess Trey and I will go back and forth here of our top 8, and then maybe talk about a few of the contenders.
Okay, yeah. Not super prepared. I'm just going to look over the coaches' poll, see if I can come up with something.
Okay. Well, at number 8, and this is not counting today's results, I've got Purdue, and it's not a matter of Purdue losing or not playing well. It's a matter of other teams looking more impressive, in my opinion. So that's why Purdue is here at 8 instead of up at 4 or 5 or 6, like last week.
Yeah, I have New Mexico at 8, and I think I'm the only person to put them in right now. I'm just really high on them. I think they're playing at a high level, and I think they're going to continue winning.
Well, if you look at Tuscan and my picks here, you see that New Mexico is right on the edge here. We've got them in consideration. And Tuscan's number 8 is my number 7, and that's Texas Tech. I'm impressed with the Red Raiders so far. They knocked off Kansas. They've knocked off Texas. They've got two really good wins here, and they can keep it going for sure up to the last game of the season, where at this point they might have a spot in playoff clinched. Maybe. Never know. Right.
Going to number 7 now.
Mm-hmm.
I have number 7. I have Purdue at 7. I know you had them at 8. I still think they're impressive. This didn't include their win over Indiana, although that was a close win, so it probably won't affect their stock much, in my opinion. But yeah, I think they're good. I think they're heading in the right direction. I'm gonna put them at 7.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I'm not bashing Purdue or anything by putting them at 8. I just think a couple other teams have been more impressive. Tuscan has Ohio State at number 7. Trey, why don't you touch on Ohio State for a bit?
Okay, Ohio State, I have them at number 6. I think they're playing at a really high rate. They have They have a big game against Minnesota tonight. I have Minnesota on the outside looking in, but it's one of my contenders. If Ohio State can beat Minnesota tonight, that's going to give them a good boost, in my opinion. Might move them up a couple spots.
Again, this Ohio State Michigan game at the end of the year could be huge, not only in the Big Ten conference race, but in playoff implications as well. I too have Minnesota on the outside here, but my number 6 is Auburn. I'm a little higher on Ohio State here, but Jazz Durant and this Auburn offense have been phenomenal so far. They're going to run into a speed bump in LSU here, but that doesn't mean they're going to lose by any means. And then Tuscan has Purdue at 6.
Yep. Okay. At 5, I have Auburn. Tuscan actually also has them at 5. They're playing good. They have the big game against LSU tonight. A win in that game would definitely help Auburn's resume. A loss would move them down quite a bit, and in all honesty, bring LSU into the playoff picture, in my opinion. But yeah, Jazz Durant, like you said, I think tonight's game will tell a lot about how the rest of their season is going to go.
I have Ohio State at 5. Oof. I'm blind. You've touched on Ohio State most here. Cody Albright and Moose Good are leading that Ohio State offense. Isaiah Cronin, a great target for Albright. They've beaten Florida State and A&M so far, and again, if they beat Minnesota, I might just put them over Michigan. Number 4, we're all in agreement here. It's TCU.
Yep, TCU at number 4. They've just been playing very well. I think at this point, unless something drastic happens, I think they're pretty much a lock for the playoffs. They've been playing at a very high rate.
Again, that Texas Tech game at the end of the year is going to look great. Number 3, we are also all in agreement that it is Michigan.
All of a sudden, we're in agreement.
What are you talking about? I've always had Michigan there.
Yeah, Michigan, they're a good team. Like you mentioned a minute ago, the Michigan-Ohio State game is going to be, unless something drastic happens between now and then, it's going to have huge playoff implications.
Oh, yeah. Michigan still has quite a few games on their schedule that could cause them trouble, especially the 2 games before Ohio State, the home game with Michigan State and at Penn State. And, actually, Michigan's next game is at Rutgers against Prophet Moffitt. And Ohio State has Michigan State on the road next week. Oh, I completely forgot that Maryland existed for a second. So sorry.
Not a hard
Sorry, GRV.
Yeah, both of them have to play Maryland still. Then Ohio State closes of Indiana and Rutgers, and then the game with Michigan. There's a lot of room to slip up there. But again, if all goes well, that's going to be an enormous game.
The Big Ten is just so good right now. Almost every weekend, every team has a chance to lose.
It's insane. Big Ten and Big 12 are 2 of the best conferences by far. Number 2, you guys have Boston College.
Yeah, Boston College is just. They're amazing. 1 and 2 are really almost interchangeable at this point. With Alex LaShore, Boston College. There's no doubt that, in my opinion, Boston College and Alabama are hands down the 1 and 2 team. Now the order within those 2 can be debated, but I'd say they're better than no debate. Michigan, TCU, all that kind of stuff.
Alabama's overall is a really packed team. They don't have a standout player, whereas Boston College, they have Alex LaShore. That's kind of why I have Boston College up there. Talent-wise, they're almost exactly the same. But BC just has that one player that fuels them. whereas Alabama is more of a team effort. But as we saw today, Boston College's defense can wreak havoc. But yeah,
Nephew Jack's making me hungry.
what you got there, son?
Got some scones.
Heard you here live. Scones.
As soon as we finish this up, I'm ordering some Chinese delivery.
I'm gonna go see a movie after this, actually.
Uh,
Skull Poople was out, so.
I should order a pizza.
I would do that, but I ordered a pizza 2 days ago, and I'm gonna turn into a pizza if I order too many.
All right, so now, oh yeah, I want to touch on a few of the teams I have on the outside here. Again, we've already said New Mexico. The Lobos train is moving on. We're going to not look at games when they get posted for a second. I want to finish this. I've got Navy on here coming up. They're undefeated. They're moving along. Their games against Houston and SMU will decide where they land. Florida State dropped off of my list, but they're still on here. They still play Boston College, which will be a huge boost to them. Minnesota here at number 12. Their only loss is to the number 1 team in the country. They've got quite a few games on their schedule as well. And they've also got Miami. The Hurricanes will get a chance to play Florida State and Florida. And we could potentially see them making a case. All right, nobody look at games. They were just posted.
Yeah, I'm high on my. Yeah, I want to make picks, so let's not look at them.
Yeah, let's make picks and not look. So, first game for the afternoon, Texas, Kansas State.
Texas.
I'm taking Texas.
I've got Texas in a closer game here. Iowa State, FIU. Can we please? FIU's front seven's way too flimsy. ISU big. Illinois, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Nebraska double digits. Oregon
We're
State.
pretty
Arizona
much
State.
all in agreement here.
So far, but I think that's
I'm taking Arizona State.
Jack?
Sorry, what was the game?
Arizona State, Oregon State.
Arizona State, yeah.
I've got the Beavers winning an upset.
Ooh.
I think they pull it off. Georgia, South Carolina.
Georgia.
South Carolina.
I think Georgia here in a blowout, actually. Navy, SMU.
Navy. Sorry,
Navy.
time.
Sorry, time, but I've got Navy by 10. Missouri, Notre Dame.
I'm taking
Missouri, but closer than people think.
It's going to be tight, but I've got Mizzou, putting Notre Dame out of her misery. Army, Mississippi State.
I'm going to go with Army to pull up the upset.
Ooh.
That's a big upset.
Got Bulldogs, 2 scores. All right, night games. Kansas, Oklahoma.
Kansas.
I think Oklahoma turns it around here. I'm going to go Oklahoma.
Closer game here. Jayhawks walk away. I heard Stormstopper is trying something new, though, so I'm intrigued to see what that is. Minnesota, Ohio State.
I think Mini at home pulls off what is nominally an upset.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota, too.
I've got Minnesota here. They'll stop the Bucks late. Wisconsin, Northwestern.
Wisconsin.
Whiskey
in a rout. Toledo and Los Lobos.
Viva Los Lobos.
I will take Los Lobos, but I am not confident about it.
I'm also not confident here, but as I've said, New Mexico wins of D. Toledo got shut down last week. Viva Los Lobos, you've got me on board. Arkansas, Alabama.
Roll
Bama.
Tide.
Double-digit win for Bama. Air Force, Tennessee.
I'll take Tennessee.
I've got the Vols here, making it easy after go into the second half.
See, I live my life by a very simple creed, and that is friends don't let me wear orange. So I'm taking Air Force.
And we have USC, Washington.
USC.
I'm taking USC as well.
I've got the Trojans pulling up a win here. And now the big game today, LSU and Auburn. Nephew Jack, what are your thoughts on this one?
I will take the upset, I think LSU gets it.
Trey?
Yeah, I'm going with LSU.
Well, darn, my vest won't come off. All right. I've thought long and hard about this game. It's a tough one to pick, but let me start from the bottom. I think, in my honest opinion, Jazz Durant runs into the brick wall that is LSU's defense. Yeah.
Those top buttons are always the worst.
Top buttons are so bad. Give me LSU taking the
Wearing
win.
2 bow ties this whole time.
I've been wearing 2 bow ties this whole time.
You just had to one-up Tuscan, didn't you?
I had to. Give me LSU. Tight game. Tigers.
I'm surprised we just unanimously chose LSU.
I am too. I like the defense
We all
here.
thought we were special.
In reality, none of us were. All right, so real quick, since games have been released, Texas beat Kansas State 37-0. Brad Davis, 90.9% completion rate, 30 for 33, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns.
And on the other side of the ball, on the other side, we've got Aiden Higgins, Kansas State, 5 for 13 for 42 yards and 2 picks.
Yikes.
Gross.
They held Stewart in check. Texas that was phenomenal.
FIU, ISU.
48-7, Iowa State. I'm surprised Florida International actually scored.
That's very telling about Conference USA.
I'm sorry there, but I really am surprised. Iowa State runs through them. 208 yards and 3 scores from Arthur Pacheco.
Nebraska at Illinois. Nebraska finds its way a little bit again. Solid game from Sean Hamilton. Marcus Williams puts up more than 100 yards and a touchdown. 3 sacks at least from the offensive line for the D line.
Yeah, it's a solid win for Nebraska here, 27-7. Arizona State, Oregon State. Wow, was I off? 38 Sun Devils.
Oregon State needs needs an overhaul of the roster.
At this point, yeah. Arizona State, just huge game from Charles Parker. Georgia, South Carolina. Georgia wins 21-7.
Boo.
In reality, Georgia loses, according to Trey.
Yep, they always lose because they're Bulldogs.
They held Milo Condon in check, 12 for 25, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Honestly, good game from Georgia here to reach bowl eligibility. Navy SMU. Navy wins 17-3.
Despite Sean Bell not having one of his greatest games.
I made a mistake last week, so I'm going to call you out on now. It's Chris Bell.
Sorry?
It's Chris Bell. Sean Bell is the Baylor.
Oh, man, I didn't even realize.
I did that last week, so I completely get you. They held Bell to 110 yards, 4.23 yards per carry, but Andre Webb threw another pick, only 150 yards. They got Kevin Muse the ball more.
Yeah, Navy's quarterback Ahmed Miles put up decent numbers.
That's a full game.
Touchdowns.
And that's 7-0 for Navy. There's a reason I have them in my playoff list.
Yeah.
Notre Dame upsets Missouri.
What? I thought it was going to be close, but I didn't think they'd be winning.
20-17. They pick off Tucker down 3 times here. DK Bates throws for 80% and 209 yards and a score.
Despite getting walloped a little bit by Mizzou, Thomas Conley 3 sacks.
Daniel Hobbs got 100 yards receiving from Mizzou, but those 3 picks ruined.
Those picks. First pick sets up a missed field goal from Notre Dame. Second one gives them 3 points, and the last one kills them in overtime.
No, I would say Notre Dame has a good chance to reach bowl eligibility, except their next game is at Alabama.
Yeah, so, Notre Dame is kind of sunk for the season, but it's nice to get a good win.
Last game in West Point, Army knocks off Mississippi State.
Woo!
Wow.
I couldn't believe that one. Who called that? One of y'all called that, didn't
That
you?
was,
I called
that was him. They got off to
That was a good pick.
picked off
Yeah.
Ryder Shipman once, held him to 140 yards. 107 yards for Will Fuller. 3 sacks for Tyler Jones. Mississippi's. Oh, man, that one pick seems to be the difference here.
Yeah.
Army just got it done. Caleb Leggett running in for. Going in for 9 yards of 20 seconds to go to give Army the win.
Yeah,
What
Army
a
wins.
game.
Army wins a little bit more defensive game than I was, one would assume. Army doesn't put up a whole lot of yardage, goes 4 for 11 on third downs, and yet somehow, pulls it out by a score.
Well, those are your Saturday afternoon games. I'm still in all over Brad Davis here. 30 for 33.
One more touchdown, and he would have thrown as many touchdowns as incompletions.
This is insane here.
I was gonna say, wait. Oh, going back to the Georgia-South Carolina game, just to touch on something I noticed. Milo Condon, it's a really, really unfortunate name, and I bet the Clemson fans just have a field day with that come rivalry week.
Oh, is that what you wanted to point out, the name?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna point out.
Good analysis there.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Trey Chaffin here. Well, that will conclude this episode of Game Day. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's games. So, from the crew of Game Day, special guests Trey Chaffin and nephew Jack, this is Imposter Coster saying, see ya.
All right.